Have you ever wanted to know what site orientation is best to maximize the value of your development and why? Hi, I'm Peter Kelly, and in this video, I'm going to share with you everything you need to know as a beginner when it comes to site orientation and dual occupancy property developments in Australia. Site orientation is another super important topic that's never given enough thought. The key is to understand the principles and techniques that will allow you to maximize what you can achieve on a site, then executing them from the get-go. So before you acquire a site or when deciding if your existing site is good for a residential property development, you need to have a clear picture of what you are wanting to achieve with your design and how the seasonal variations will impact that. When you are designing a standalone dwelling, it is much easier to get it right. But remember, we are dealing in 2s, 3s, 4s, etc. So it's your job as the property developer to be all over the site orientation. The last thing you want to do is end up devaluing your dwellings due to a lack of knowledge and effort in this area. The first thing you need to understand is the direction the sun travels throughout the different seasons of the year. Designing your development as a beginner with this in mind will be critical when trying to get the most out of the sun every day as it passes by. Now, whether it's yourself as the end user or you are selling the dwellings for a return, it's still something you want to get right because buyers are now smarter than ever. If you do get it wrong, the smart buyers will know, which is going to make it extremely difficult to achieve that premium price that you'll no doubt be chasing. The majority of us know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, but understanding the sun always travels around the north side is what's key. It's your spaces to the north side that will enjoy the greatest sun advantage, and to a lesser extent, your east and west sides of your dwellings will receive a great morning and afternoon sun. This logic becomes even more evident during the winter months as the sun hangs lower. On these cold days, there is nothing better than getting natural light and warmth into your important living zones. Now let's start with the holy grail of orientations when talking about dual occupancy development sites. North facing private open space. As you can see, your living and private open space is facing north, meaning for the majority of the day, your backyard will enjoy sun. It also means your own dwelling won't cast a shadow over your important living spaces. Now let's flip this orientation around. What you can see now is a south-facing private open space orientation. In this case, it means for a good part of the day, your private open space will be in shadow. Now, the effect is less severe in summer as the sun travels higher, but in the winter, when you need the sun the most, key living and private open space areas of your dwellings will be under shadow. The shadow will also impact your garden, including your lawn, which may not sound like much, but all these little things add up and will absolutely impact the end value of your dwellings. Alright, east-west and west-east orientations. For me, I think these are a bit of an in-between orientation, a bit of a compromise. Depending on which way you go, you will either end up with great natural light in the rear of your dwellings in the morning or in the afternoon, and vice versa to the front. It's important to keep in mind, particularly as a property development beginner, by running this orientation, you will end up with one dwelling on the north side, which will ultimately be more appealing to buyers as it will enjoy more natural light throughout the day while the sun passes through. So essentially, you'll end up with two dwellings built exactly the same, but one worth more than the other due to its favourable orientation. One last point I'd like to make on east-west and west-east orientations, and perhaps the most important point I'll make in this video, is when your site is running east-west and west-east, you do run the risk of blocking your south neighbour's northern solar access, which is not allowed. So you need to be mindful of the position of your south neighbour's house on their block and what kind of shadowing is going to be cast over it. If your south neighbour has their driveway or garage to your side, it will mean you're in pretty good shape, as their house will be set off the side boundary by about 3 to 4 metres. But if this isn't the case and you think the existing neighbour's dwelling could be too close to your boundary, then here are 3 things you need to consider. Number 1, determine where your south neighbour's habitable windows are. If they are too close to your boundary, this may impact the size and height you can build. Number 2, be mindful of your south neighbour's private open space, as you won't be allowed to shadow it. And number 3, be aware that there are regulations in place that prohibit new builds shadowing existing solar panels. So make make sure you look at your south neighbour, because this will also affect the size and the height you can build to. As always, if you get to this point and you are still unsure, it's really important that you engage an expert, as these decisions can cost you a significant amount of money. So there you have it, site orientations. Plenty of things to think about, all of which can impact your development both negatively and positively. As a property development beginner in Australia, having your finger on the orientation pulse will give you a competitive advantage, and it's guaranteed to positively impact your return on investment. So if you're doing it, you may as well be doing it properly. Thanks for listening. Happy developing.